So it's episode 11 of Shaymen Legends. And we've brought someone on who used to play for Everton, but also played for Halifax Town. But not only played for Halifax Town, he was also the manager and even a physio. He's currently at Salford City. So Mick, and you've guessed it, it's Mick Rathbone. Mick, how are you doing?
I'm okay, mate. I can't believe I was the 11th choice. Surely I've been on the first Who's on the first episode?
Oh, that was King. You probably don't know him, but Kingsley James.
Oh, I'm sorry, I don't know, mate. But I thought I would have been on the first one.
You're the second. You're the second person from the old traditional club. So, will you take that?
That sounds great, Luke. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, how's it going at Salford at the minute for you then?
Do you know what, mate? I absolutely love it. So,
Yeah.
I was a physio at Everton for the last. I've worked for every club in the country, mate.
Yeah.
So the last 3 years, I worked at Everton, and I packed up in the summer. I retired for the 5th consecutive summer. I said no more. I'm 62 now, and I had a lovely summer. And I was moving on to do other things and be retired. And then I got a phone call from Salford, and they said, "Look, Baz, the physio's left quite suddenly. We haven't got a physio." And I said to the guy, "Mate, 10 years ago, maybe. I'm too old." And then I felt a bit bad. I thought, well, if I haven't got a physio, it's not going to kill me to do a couple of weeks. But you know the real thing about it, Luke? I believe in fate. And the guy who runs the club said to me, "We've got a new coach called Billy Barr." I said, "Right, I'll stop you there." You may or may not know, Luke, when I was at Halifax in the 90s, Billy Barr was a player in the team.
Yeah.
When he said Billy Barr was at Salford, I said, "Right, I'll do it." So I said, "I'll come for 2 weeks." And it went really well. And then I said, "I'll stay for 1 month." And then the lads kept saying, "Oh, please stay, please stay," which is very flattering. So I stayed to my 63rd birthday, which was last week. And then they said, "Oh, no, come on, stay." So I said, "Okay, I'll stay even longer." So I went for 2 weeks, and I've been there 3 months now. And you know what? I really like it.
Yeah, and it's a little different from what you usually used to, innit, when you're being a physio at clubs. Obviously, they've got the documentary as well. Do you reckon that could go ahead this year?
Well, I've not even seen it, mate. They've done a couple, haven't they? And I don't know if there's going to be another one, but I do note when we get beat, there seems to be a guy with a camera poking it in people's faces, trying to get a reaction. So I guess there might be, yeah. There's always a guy following us around who's a really nice guy, to be fair. So, but I've not seen the documentaries, Luke.
No, they're quite good. They're quite good episodes. I would suggest going to watch them. But yeah, obviously it's going well at Salford City for you. What was your time like? Obviously, moving on a bit now. Obviously, you played for Everton, didn't you, when you were a footballer?
Yeah, I didn't play for Everton. I played for Birmingham, Blackburn, and Preston, and I was a physio at Everton for 8 years with Moyes, from 2002 to 2010.
Yeah. What was it like with Moyes then? Did you get to meet him?
Mate, I love that guy because when I finished playing and I finished at Halifax, I trained to be a physio and I became a physio. And my first physio job really was back at Preston in 1995. And there was a centre back at the club who was player coach called David Moyes. Yeah. And we're in the bottom division then. And then Dave became the manager. And we had an amazing 7 years there. And we went from the bottom division to very nearly the Premier League. And then in 2002, me and Dave went to Everton together and we had 8 great years there. And we got on great. And then one day he just sacked me.
Yeah. a bit of a shock then. That was it a shock for you?
Mate, I thought after 15 years of devotion, I thought that was a bit tough.
Yeah.
But we're still seriously, Luke, we are really close friends. I went to Man U after that and he came into Man U. We keep in touch. Funnily enough, when Everton's under-23s played West Ham last year down in London, I saw him then, and he's a great friend of mine. I would consider him one of my best friends in football. He's a great fella and a great manager, and I'm so glad he's had a chance to show how good he really is when people give him a reasonable chance. So
I listen to Talk Sport a lot, and it's obviously great to hear David Moyes doing so well now at West Ham, and hopefully they can get Champions League football this season, because I'm quite a big fan of West Ham. I think they've got a good set of fans, and especially when they've got a manager like David Moyes, I'm sure they'll go on and do well. But anyway, move on. You've got a couple of books, haven't you, that have come out? Well, it's your second book now that you've written.
Yeah, I'm not on here to plug my second book.
Yeah.
Luke, when I was a young player, I played for Birmingham. This is before your dad was born, mate.
Yeah.
And I played in the top division when I was a teenager, and I really struggled with confidence, and I didn't play well and that, and it was a nightmare actually, mate. It might be hard for you to imagine that it could be a nightmare to be a footballer. And then I went to Blackburn when I was like 19 or 20.
Yeah.
And when I got to Everton and I finished there in 2010, I wanted to talk about this confidence stuff and how bad it can be being a footballer if you've got no confidence.
Yeah.
So that's why I wrote that first book. And that came out in 2011. As you mentioned, and I didn't ask you to mention it, I wrote another one, and it's about the last 11 years. It starts when I leave Everton in 2010, and it finishes when I'm in my car driving to Salford a couple of months ago. And the theme of the second book is about somebody getting older in football and feeling quite distant from all the new stuff and that. Obviously, it talks about when I worked at Forest and when I worked with the England teams and when I worked at Man U and all that, blah, blah, blah. But that's the theme of the book. So thanks for giving it a good mention. Now you have mentioned it. It's got its own website. The first book was in all the bookshops, but the second book is only on my website, and that's going to be broadcast on Monday. So if you go into your piggy bank by the side of your bed and get all your pound coins out, you can get one as well.
Yeah, I might try.
I'll even put to Walshy, best wishes.
That'd be great.
You do, Bessie. Yeah.
I've heard a lot of good reviews on it on Twitter and everything. But anyway, which book would you say?
I wrote most of them though, to be honest. I got all my family and friends to write them.
Oh, okay. So, which book would you say is better, number 1 or number 2?
Right, they're equally great. And do you know what I wanted to do, Luke? When I wrote the second one, in the history of sequels, i.e. the second book, second film, the second one's usually a rubbish version of the first.
Yeah.
So the second, I put as much time in. I gave it that additional theme about growing old in football. And I knew that I had a lot of good stories to tell about that subject and loads of different clubs over the last 10 years. So I really, 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 really tried hard to make the second one as good as the first one and not a rubbish version. So it's the same size, same amount of words. It's a hardback. I think it's really, I really like it, mate. I'm really proud of it. It's been reviewed by a couple of journalists and they said it was rubbish. No, they didn't. No, they didn't say that. They said it was brilliant. So I was buzzing off that as well. So that's where we are, mate.
Brilliant then, yeah. So if you want to go get Mick Rathbone's book, you can do. It will be on his website. I'm sure he'll really appreciate that. Leave a good review because obviously he's struggling for them at the minute because only his family and friends can give them. But anyway, so we move on to a bit of your time at Halifax then. So obviously, being, such a high profile like yourself, how did you find your way to Halifax Town, who are in the 4th division?
You know what? It's incredible. Life's incredible, Luke. So I finished playing at Preston. I was 32, had an operation on my knee, packed in playing. I've now got no qualifications because I left school at 16. And at the club in those days, there was no education programme. So you stick your head in the sand and play and play and play and play and play, thinking the day you stop will never come. Then it comes. And then you've got no savings and you've got a young family and a big mortgage and you've got no qualifications. So I had to bite the bullet and go to university. And while I was at university, my friend had a clothes shop and I would put some clothes that he couldn't sell in the sale, that's how bad they must have been, in the boot of my car, and I'd go around to clubs. And one day I went to Halifax and I saw John McGrath, who was my manager at Preston. And he said to me, "What are you doing?" I said, "Oh, I'm doing this to make money while I get my degree as a physio." He said, "We need a physio. Why don't you come here?" I said, "John," I said, "I'm not even qualified." He said, "That's okay. We'll give you a rubbish wage and then you won't feel too bad." So I started in 1992 on £200 a week. And that's when I started. So it was just that going there, selling clothes out the boot of my car to pay for my degree. And John McGrath, my old manager, the physio had left and him randomly offering me that job. And that was it. And I went in, and this is the weirdest thing about it. I went in there to start June 1992. June 1992. My first person to run with was a young lad, a local lad called Billy Barr, who's a legend at the club. And we went on Savile Moor and we did a cross-country run. He had a bad ankle. And now at Salford, I work with Billy.
Yeah.
And that's the amazing thing about football, Luke. You meet these people, you don't see them for 30 years, and then you're sharing the car with them. It's the weirdest thing. And I'll be with Billy. We're playing Scunthorpe tomorrow. I'll be with Billy all day tomorrow.
Yeah, obviously that's the good thing about football, isn't it? How you can get connected by that. But also, it's weird, isn't it? How someday you can be working out your car boot sale to being the physio at Halifax Town, and obviously now being at Salford. Do you feel Halifax, gave you that platform, to be where you are today after life, after football?
Yeah, Halifax gives me the opportunity to be one of the very few managers to take a team out of the league, and I'll never be able to thank them for that. Luke, I really loved it at Halifax.
Yeah.
I've worked for lots of clubs. I loved all of them, but clubs are about the people who are there, aren't they? And the people there were fantastic. And I went as physio at first, and as you know, then I became the manager, and then obviously we got relegated at the league. Yeah. But because we were struggling so much financially and for points and for players, just to get to the last game of the season was success of a type. So I walked away from there, having taken them out the team, out the league for the first time in life since 1911. Having taken them out the league for the first time since 1911. And I was proud, and everybody done the best, and it just wasn't quite good enough. And do you know what, Luke, in life, you're a young lad, you've got your life ahead of you. If you do your best, it's okay, It's okay to fail if you do your best. And my memories of Halifax, apart from the amazing people, is that I've done my best. And I don't think anybody would say now that, I was a bad guy or actually was a failure, even though I failed. Because failing is just not doing your best, Luke. And we did our best and the players did their best. And sometimes the other teams are just a little bit better. And somebody finishes bottom. And, if Burnley finish bottom of the Premier League, I'm sure they won't. Nobody's going to say Sean Dyche is no good, are they? Sometimes the team's not just quite as strong as the other teams. So I was really proud of what we all achieved. And when I took over at Christmas, it was unlikely we get to the end of the season, even because of the financial problems. So I look back on that, as great memories, be some great nights out in the town, and making a lot of really good friends, mate.
Yeah, obviously, when you say that about the financial difficulties at the time, and it wasn't even looking like we were going to survive till the end of the season, and we survived another 13 years, which is quite incredible when you think about it. But how did the opportunity come around to be the manager of FC Halifax Town? Obviously, you were the physio. I'm guessing you were the physio at the time. But there was also another player called Jimmy Case. Yeah. And I think he was expected to be the manager, wasn't he? And I saw in the careers, you were shocked, weren't you, when you were
It was really funny. It was really funny, Luke. So the team weren't doing very well. And the manager was under pressure. We got beat at Marine 4-1. And I'll tell you something else unbelievable. The goalie in the FA Cup at Marine, the goalie for Marine that day was at Everton with me last year. He's the goalie coach. Isn't it unbelievable that? And we always talked about that game. After that game, I think we drew 1-1 with Barnet at home. Yeah. And I think that was it. And the manager left. And the chairman phoned me up and he said, look, Baz, he said, will you take over for a bit? And I said, yeah, okay, I will. I'll give it a go. But, that's not really me. I've had no experience in management and that, And it was really funny. One of the first games after that, we were going away from home to play at Scarborough. And I was sat next to Jimmy Case. And Jimmy, of course, was a European Cup winner and a high-profile guy. And I said to him on the bus, I said, what are you going to do when you finish playing? He was about 38 then. He said, I want to go into management. I said, well, hang on a second. I don't understand this. I don't want to be a manager. You do want to be a manager. How am I the manager and you're not the manager? And he looked at me and he goes, Baz, he said, if you start your managerial career at Halifax Town, you'll finish at Halifax Town. Yeah. And how profound those words would be.
Mm-hmm. A quote that you'll remember for the rest of your life.
Mate, I like what you're thinking about it.
But obviously you didn't spend too long managing Halifax Town, but there were a lot of crucial decisions that you had to make, didn't you? Especially not just like on the pitch, but off the pitch as well. obviously, was it Tomlinson? Obviously, he was. You had to sell him to Scunthorpe, I believe. And how crucial was that you sold him?
Do you know what, Luke? I remember it like it was 1992, 30
Yeah.
years ago.
Mm-hmm.
30 years ago? Yeah, I remember it like it was yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So we got beat at Chesterfield. We're winning 1-0. We got beat 2-1 and went bottom of the league for the first time, I think.
Yeah.
And on the way back, the chairman and the man who, God rest his soul, he's not with us anymore, who was putting money in, great guys, great people, love the club. They said to me, don't come back on the coach, come back with us in the car. We need to sort out, it's a deadline tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I said to them, they said, Baz, we need you in the office all day. Give the lads a day off. You've got to be on the phones all day tomorrow. It's deadline day. And I said to them, oh, is there money to buy a player? And they said, oh, no. Sell to survive. Sell to survive. So the next day, I think we sold Ian Thompson to Scunthorpe. I think he was our top scorer, if my memory serves me right. And the writing was on the wall. And that's nobody's fault. You know, I sat at board meetings, Luke, in them days, and I saw guys who were comfortably off, but not rich. I saw them take checkbooks out and write checks to keep that club going for no other reason than they love that football club. Not as an investment, not to get fame or credit, not to get any fringe benefits, just because they love that football club. And I'll never forget that.
Yeah, and that's the thing about Halifax. Obviously, playing in the National League at the minute, but we have quite a tight fan base. We don't get like the attendances that some sides get, but we have a tight fan base that all want the best for the club. And I think that's the good thing about Halifax Town, because you've got a good set of fans that obviously want the best for the club. And obviously, when you've got people writing checks and stuff like that, it's brilliant to see. And I think obviously it was just so disappointing that we had to go under. But we are in a good position at the moment. But moving back onto a bit about your time, what was it like then when the club got relegated? Obviously, you touched on that a little while ago. What was it like being, obviously, it's not the best word in the world, but obviously being the first manager since 1911 to get relegated with FC Halifax Town? Well, Halifax Town.
It was, the whole thing was weird. That whole last day was just strange. And because it was our... potentially the last game, they could have sold 20,000 tickets. It would only hold 7,700 because of the safety regulations. It was a full house. It was a warm day. And we got there loads of TV cameras, which was very, very rare. It was like a carnival atmosphere. And I remember thinking to myself, wow, in 2.5 hours' time, I'm either going to be carried off the pitch as the hero for keeping them up, or trudging off the pitch and people in tears and that, And the game, it was just so weird. At half time, Northampton, I believe, Northampton needed a point. They were 3 down at Shrewsbury. We were 0-0 and missed a couple of good chances. I'm sitting at half time thinking, right, Northampton are done. They're 3-0 down. We win this 1-0. We're going to do it. Anyway, we didn't win. They beat us 1-0. And even before they scored their late winner, Hartlepool, was it? Even before they scored their late winner, Northampton had got 3 goals back at Shrewsbury and got the point they needed. So what was it like? It was sad. I didn't feel guilty in a way. I felt we'd done our best. I felt really sorry for the players and the fans and that. I felt huge relief that it was over, mate, because it is a burden to go into games like that. I felt relief for the players because I saw them in the last 3 or 4 weeks, with that kind of historical responsibility. So it was strange. It was a kind of almost like glad it's all over and that, and I say in the book, on the pitch afterwards, all the Halifax fans came on and, granddad, dad, grandson, and 3 generations of fans with the scarves on, crying but singing "There'll always be a Halifax." And it was amazing, mate. And I went out and I said a few words, didn't I, about, I don't know, coming back stronger and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know. So it was just a strange day. And it wasn't like a normal home game because there were so many people there and press people. And I couldn't park my car because of TV cameras and stuff. And it was just like going to a carnival. It was just such a strange feeling. And I could see when the players turned up at 2 o'clock, I could see on their faces how drained they were, you know. So it's difficult because a lot of them lads, they come through the ranks and they're only like 19, 20. It's quite a burden for them lads, you know. So mixed emotions, really, you know. It was kind of, to paraphrase Charles Dickens, I'm sure you've heard of him. Have you?
Well, I think I've been drawn with him today in English, but yeah, go on, carry on.
Well, he wrote a book called The Tale of Two Cities, and it was about London and Paris during the French Revolution. And the opening line is, "It was the best of days, it was the worst of days," and it was a bit like that. It was a really sad day, of course, but it was it was great in a funny kind of way. It's really hard to explain. Yeah, strange.
Yeah, and I think obviously, what was the atmosphere like though? Obviously, because we weren't usually getting them sort of attendances back in that day. I think we were only getting like 1,000 a match, and then suddenly for that game we had 7,500 there, and they could have easily been a lot more, couldn't they? But obviously, like you said, the stadium how it was back in those days.
Luke, people were sending requests from all over Europe for the programme for that game.
Jeez.
In the likelihood that it would be the last ever league programme for Halifax Town FC and would become one day a collector's item.
Yeah.
So the whole thing surrounding it was weird. And Halifax would get zero press coverage. And they zero TV coverage. All of a sudden, because in them days only one team went out. And it was only been going on for about 5 or 6 years, I think, maybe. Now two go out. And most of the teams in the conference, the National League, have been in the league. So that kind of stigma's gone now. But in them days, it was a pretty big deal. And for that weekend, the eyes of the football world were on the Shay. So it was so weird and unusual and just totally different.
Yeah. To what? Like you said, it's just totally different. And obviously, when you've got that many fans there and people are requesting it from all over Europe, it's mental. And it was great to see in a way, but obviously getting relegated against Hereford, it's a little disappointing. Moving on a bit now, though.
I said Hartlepool. I meant Hereford, and it was an Halifax player scored, I believe, as well.
Yeah.
So, but as I say, I 100% believe we all did our best, and the board and the fans on that day. And sometimes it's just not meant to be. And whether we like it or not, in any league, a team has to finish at the bottom. And that doesn't mean they don't care. It doesn't mean they're bad people. It doesn't mean they're cheating the club. I was there every day. We worked hard. I saw the players. I saw what it meant to them. I saw the tears after the game, So I hold my head high. When I was at Everton, it was really funny because when we played, let's say, Leeds or Sheff Wed in the Premier League, and we were going across the motorway at the top of Halifax, the M62, when we got to the Halifax turn-off, the lads would shout, Baz, get down, get down. And I'd lie on the floor of the coach. And it was a good laugh. It was really funny.
Yeah.
I didn't need to do that because I felt that people did appreciate what we did and how hard we tried. And I didn't think I really needed to lie down on the floor on the team bus.
Yeah, I can tell you're quite well respected with Halifax Town. Obviously, I've had people on the forum sending in loads of questions, which we will move on to in a bit. But they've also been singing your praises. I got one saying top bloke, and it's great to see. Obviously, it's quite a while ago now, and a lot of Halifax fans will obviously remember. Will remember you from and what you did for the club. You did the best for the club, but a lot of you, like myself, wouldn't have really heard of you. Obviously, I've heard of you, but a lot of fans won't. And it's great to see, knowing all this knowledge about Halifax Town, and it's just great to have you on. But yeah, so we move on to some quick fire questions now. Back in the day, we had these things called magazine shoot things, and they're like a load of quick fire questions. And we thought we'd bring it. Pardon?
I'm up for it. I can do it.
Yeah. Okay, so a load of quick fire questions. So the first one is, what's your pre-match meal?
I used to have, when I played in the mid-70s, it was all about having the most expensive dish. And I have a big fillet steak, and all the rest of the players have a fillet steak.
Now we know that you should not eat a fillet steak at 12 o'clock.
Yeah. So, what would you do nowadays then? Would you do the same thing?
We have our pre-match at 11:30. We're playing Scunthorpe tomorrow. So modern days, I just have a bit of pasta and probably an energy drink.
Mm-hmm. Right, moving on then. Who's the best player you've come across, so either played with or played against?
Best player I've ever played with, Trevor Francis, first £1 million player. 20 years ahead of his time, played for England many times. Best player I've played against was a player called Peter Barnes, a winger who played for England and Man City. Best player I've worked with, Wayne Rooney, by an absolute mile. I was at Everton when Wayne was 16, 17. My third game for Everton was that game when he scored against Arsenal.
Mm-hmm. It's funny because you're the second person we've had on who has known Wayne Rooney. We had Tom Baker on, and he was actually in the academy with Everton at the time. Did you come up with him?
No, I don't know the guy.
No. Oh, well, that's a shame. But yeah, Wayne Rooney, obviously it's great. What's it like then, seeing all these legends? Obviously, even now you've got Phil Neville, Gary Neville, Paul Scholes, all these players. What's it like, being in around these legends?
You know what? I'm a massive football fan. I played 400 odd games, and I've been in football since I was 16. I'm 63 now. Football's my life. But even now, if like Gary Neville came to the training ground the other day and we were chatting, and I still do feel that magic. In terms of Wayne, when I first went to Everton in 2002, David Moyes said to me, Baz, there's a lad here who's going to be the best player of his generation. He's only 16 years of age. So I was so lucky that I came into Everton at the birth, in inverted commas, of Wayne Rooney. And he started training with us, and you could see straight away this guy was something absolutely special. And I thank my lucky stars that I got to work with him and to know him. The funny thing was, my very first game for Salford this season was Derby away in the Carling Cup, League Cup, whatever it's called.
Then.
Yeah, and Wazza come over and went, bloody hell, Baz, I didn't think you'd be still working in the game. So, great guy, great fella.
Yeah, and it's great to hear as well. So, next one is, how did you get the nickname Baz?
Okay, in the 1920s, there was a famous actor called Basil Rathbone. He always played Sherlock Holmes. On my first day at Blackburn in 1979, I was only 19 or 20, maybe just 20. I went in for my first day's training, and one of the senior players, he just said, it's Mick Rathbone. Let's call him Basil. And it stuck. And nobody calls me Mick. Nobody calls me Michael. Everyone calls me Baz.
Oh, I should have put it on the bottom. Then I should have said Shaymen Legends, Baz. That's a shame, but Mick Rathbone. I'll know you as that. But what music gets you in the zone for a game?
Right, you're going to laugh at this. I love Eminem, and I don't mean
Eminem.
I don't mean the candy-covered peanuts either. You know, when you go to a new club, Luke. I don't know if you know this. When you go to a new club, you have to sing. The first time you go away with the team, the first game where you're in a hotel, when you're having your meal, all the new people have to sing. Now, I've been to so many clubs recently. I've done it every year for the last 7 years. And what I don't know if you've seen the film 8 Mile by Eminem. There's a rap scene at the end, and I do that, and I'm fantastic at doing it. And to see a 63-year-old guy, they think you're going to probably sing Frank Sinatra. And I get up and I do word for word the final rap scene from 8 Mile. And seriously, mate, people aren't expecting that.
You come across as the type of guy that'd be interested in opera. But can you give us a little song then by Eminem?
Well, everybody from the 313, put your hands up and follow me. Everybody from the 313, put your hands up. Now while he stands tough, notice this man does not have his hands up. Free will got you gassed up. Who's afraid of the big bad wolf? I said a 1, a 2, a 3 into the 4. 1 pack, 2 pack, 3 pack, 4. 4 pack, 3 pack, 2 pack, 1. Each pack, your pack, no pack, none.
I think you've been the next round of Britain's Got Talent anyway. Moving on then.
If I get a puppy and train it up, maybe.
No, you weren't too bad. Not too bad for a 63-year-old anyway. But we'll move on. Pardon?
Praise indeed. Thank you.
No problem. But moving on then. Do you prefer to be a physio or a player?
Player. No, sorry, physio. Because I like being a player, but there's a lot of pressure on you, and you get really nervous. And if you lose and don't play very well, you've got the worst week ahead of you. And so I used to go into the games feeling really, really nervous. And then when I became the physio, you're still in the dressing room, you've still got the excitement. So I'm looking forward to the game at Scunthorpe tomorrow and that. But you haven't got that kind of awful feeling when you give a bad back pass and they score, So I really like being the physio.
Yeah, it's an awful feeling. Obviously, when you've just, and especially even if you've played exceptionally well, you expect to do it the next week, aren't you? And then obviously when you don't, it's a little disappointing, isn't it? But moving on, we've got one here. Who inspired you as a child? Which player did you look up to?
Do you know what? It's still Trevor Francis, because I supported Birmingham City.
Yeah.
And I had all the players' pictures over my wall. I used to go to all the games. So I was like 12, 13, 14, 15. Trevor Francis would have been 18, 19, 20, 21. On his debut for Birmingham as a 16-year-old, he scored 4 goals. So ironically, the guy I hero worshipped the most and looked up to, as well as George Best, actually turned out to be a guy I played with at Birmingham. So kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
Yeah, so that's a good inspiration anyway. But who did you support growing up?
Just Birmingham all the time. I was born not far from St Andrews, and Birmingham's training ground in the 70s was right by Birmingham Airport, where I was born. And when I signed for them, I could walk to the training ground every day. So I really was the local lad.
Yeah, and that's obviously great as well. But yeah, I think that more or less wraps it up for quick fire questions. We've got some fans' questions now sent in. There's one at the end that's particularly very difficult, so you might want to wait for that. But the first one is, what was it like to score the goal for Halifax and run the length of the pitch?
Well, it was one of the top 5 bestest moments in my football career. I've been really lucky, Luke. I've had some great times in that. But I've got to say, that was right up there with it, to score that goal, because I'd been there when they went down. So I took responsibility for that, and I felt bad enough about it. But then to kind of make things good in a way, to score that goal, it was amazing. If I close my eyes, I can still see that ball going into the net. I hit it just right, half volley, and it kind of made things right. It put all the bad stuff out of my head and that. And I've been ever so lucky, man. I've had so much good stuff in football, winning things, especially with the young England teams and Everton and clubs I've worked with, and particularly at Preston when we won the league twice and that. That's right up there, mate. Right up there.
What is the best moment then in your career?
Wow, there's a few of them, mate. When I worked with the England teams, we won the Euros in Malta, the under-17s. That was a team skippered by Joe Gomez, Adam Armstrong in there, Josh Onham, Dominic Solanke, Lewis Cook, some great players. Great players. So I guess that was a great time.
Moving on then. This is, again, from a fan. I'm afraid Godfrey is a club legend, but for the wrong reasons. What would your opinion be on that?
Who's that, mate?
I'm afraid Godfrey is a club legend, but for the wrong reasons.
Godfrey Abibo.
Yeah.
He must be talking about Godfrey Abibo.
Yeah, he is.
Incredible. We had no money, no players, and then I got a random phone call from an agent. I couldn't really understand what he was saying. He's on about his player. He said he played in Serie A. Turned out to be Syria. What a lovely guy. He did his best, and he brought some amazing personality and charisma and smiliness, and he was much loved by everybody. So great memories of Godfrey Abibo.
That's great as well. What was the first player you met at the show? First person?
I told you, mate, Billy Barr. I come in early, June 1992. There's one injured player, Billy Barr. I was probably 37. Billy was probably 24, 25. And we went running on Savile Moor. We did a hard cross-country run. And he was the first player I met. And tomorrow, I'm driving in with Billy Barr in my car. It's amazing, isn't it?
It's amazing, yeah. Moving on then, would you ever consider coming back to the Shay, working as a physio?
Yeah, but it's a bit far to come now. Plus, I'm
Uh-huh.
packing in this year, but I did say that last year
Yeah.
and the year before and the year before and the year before.
Mhm.
And when you leave, you get a nice present. And I
Yeah.
realised about 5 years ago, if you keep leaving, you get a watch and a present. So I left Everton in the summer and I got a lovely watch and I got a £500 gift voucher for Everton, for Hugo Boss, sorry. I've lost my picture now, but I'll keep talking. I got a £500 Hugo Boss gift voucher. And I realised when I left Forest, I got really nice presents as well there. And I realised that if you keep leaving, you get loads of presents. So my plan now is to just do a year at every single football club and get a present. So I won't be working next year in football, but I did say that last year, and I said it the year before, and the year before, and the year before. Now, 4 watches later, I'm still doing it. So never say never, mate.
You get something amazing if you went to Manchester City or even Newcastle now.
Hey, I thought that. What would you get there? You probably get
I'm not.
They
I think
might
you
buy
probably
you
get.
they might buy you a place in Spain or something like that.
They'll probably buy you a Ferrari or something like that. I'm sure. Would you like to be rocking up in one of them?
Oh, mate, I can just see myself, mate, in a Ferrari. Yeah, yeah. I won't sleep tonight now, mate. I won't sleep tonight.
You'll be thinking about your next move, won't you?
Funnily enough, when Tim Cahill was at Everton, he bought a
Yeah.
Lamborghini, and I was waiting for him at the training ground one day. It was just me and him, and he had an injury, and I heard this noise from about 2 miles away, and he come round in the Lamborghini, black. What a machine! And I was waiting in the car park. I said, "Jesus Christ, Tim!" And he threw me the keys. He said, "Baz, take it, have it for a couple of hours." And I threw them back. I said, "No." I said, "One day I'll have a car like this, and I'll drive it myself." Anyway, that never happened.
Well, it might do.
But you give the book a good plug. So
Yeah.
if we can get those like million, like what's the name? What's the lady who wrote Harry Potter? If we can get those kind of numbers, maybe I will get that Ferrari.
Yeah, hopefully you will. Maybe we'll get 2 Ferraris. You never know. But
His and
the
hers.
final. Pardon?
His and hers. One for me, one for my wife.
Yeah, not too bad. Good Christmas present, innit, or anniversary present. And then you could even go even further to more family members. But moving on then, this is the hardest question you'll probably have when you do an interview. Obviously, every single Shaymen legend we've brought on has done it, and only one person has not passed. So there's quite a lot of pressure on you here. And we've made it a little harder for you as well. Can you name all the clubs you've played for, which it'd usually be, or worked for in order?
Easily. I played for Birmingham, Blackburn, Preston. I physioed for Halifax. Then I went to Preston. Then I went to Everton. Then I did some work at Coventry. Then I worked with the England teams. Then I went to Manchester United. Then I went to Blackpool. Then I went down to Crawley. Then I went to Wigan. Then I went to Nottingham Forest. Then I worked in the Caribbean. Then I went back to Everton. And now I'm at Salford.
Caribbean? I never knew you went to the Caribbean. What was that like?
Unbelievable. There's a little island called Montserrat. It's by Antigua. It's a British dependence. It's a British island. All the players in our team play in the National League.
Yeah.
They'll have all played at Halifax over
Jamie
the years.
Allen, he plays for us. He plays for Montserrat.
Who's that?
Jamie Allen. He plays for us, and he's at Montserrat as an international.
Right. Well, so I did 4 games 3 years ago. It was incredible. We had 2 at home. So we went 4 times. We had 2 home games. Then we had a game in Curacao, which is by Venezuela. Then we had a game in Grand Cayman. Incredibly, we won 3 of the 4 games. It was the most amazing experience. What an amazing place.
They're looking to try qualify for the World Cup as well, Montserrat.
Yeah.
It'd be great to see him. Pardon?
I went back to Everton then, so I couldn't do any more games. So I gave a friend of mine, a young guy who's a physio, I'll let him do the next games. And he's done the last year. And he's been to Panama, El Salvador, everywhere. He says, like me, he said it's incredible.
Yeah, it will be, obviously, because there's some nice countries that you've mentioned there to go on holiday, isn't there? Even Montserrat. I've heard that when I see one of our players put stuff on his Instagram about it, it looks a beautiful country, and I'm sure anyone who goes there is privileged, feel privileged to go there. But yeah, doing that question, then you thrived at it. I don't think one player has done it as quickly with that many clubs as what you have, but that more or less wraps up the interview. Huge thank you for coming. I do really appreciate it, especially with you being such a high profile as well. Obviously, making time to do an interview with me. It's
anything
brilliant.
for you, anything for Halifax.
Yeah.
They said
But
to me,
anyway,
they said to me, this little lad is amazing. Would you
thank
go on?
you.
I said, absolutely. He said he's the biggest fan and he's an amazing young guy. And yeah, you are. So it was my pleasure, Luke, honestly.
Thank you. Thank you for coming on. And yeah, hopefully it goes well with Salford tomorrow at Scunthorpe. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Luke. Goodbye, mate.
See you.
Bye.